This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Welcome everybody to the Thursday, February 20th, 2025 meeting, the Easthampton Energy Advisory Committee. Jamie Paquette, the chair of the committee, joined by John Pepe, Cassie Eckhoff, Connie Dawson, Josh Rosenblatt, and pop-up is?
Remind later.
Yes. Letting this thing do anything else right now? All right. Interruptions we get. Starting a little late, but trying to catch up moving along here. First order of business is the minutes from the past meeting. Josh, thank you for putting those together, taking them up, circulating them, even though I didn't notice at first that they had been.
It's okay. We didn't have any edits.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
I move you. Last meeting.
A motion.
And I'll second.
Seconded. Connie moves. Cassie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Minutes are approved. On to public speak. Again, I don't see any other members of the public here at the moment, so I think we can move on from that. All right, committee updates. This committee updates, not anything major to report there. We do have a new member of the Peace Committee that will be at our first meeting, which is later today, or our next meeting, which is later today. Owen Zarrett, because he resigned from the city council, also resigned his spot in the committee because that was tied to his city council service. So
he doesn't want to be a member, just.
Well, he can't be because he was appointed, because the committee is set up to have a member from the city council, a member from the Energy Advisory Committee, from the Agricultural Commission, and the Conservation Commission, plus member to the public.
So he could be a member.
Yeah, he could come back in
Right.
as that, because I do think there may, but now we have another member of the public who's just starting. And I don't know, I think, I don't want to speak for him because I don't know exactly, but I think it was just,
So is there a member
taking a break.
planned from the city council?
There's not, that's what I was gonna say. I don't know if, and when we'll have somebody from the city council stepping up to fill that slot.
They get a member, and we don't, a city council member on their committee.
And we don't, I
Yeah.
don't know. That's just the way it was set up in the creation of the group. But I know, they'll be looking to do some stuff this spring. We'll come back around to some spring talk here in a minute, how we might, coordinate with them, especially with this larger thing that we're potentially talking about. But before we talk about the future, talk about the past real quick, and just a quick Winterfest update. Just real quick, start, say a big thank you to Connie for a whole lot of legwork.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Connie.
Getting a lot of cars there, coordinating with the Winterfest folks, and just like doing all those little things that have to happen to make it work.
I would prefer to have someone compliment me on my sign, my
The
3
sign
sign
was also
sign.
good.
I didn't see any pictures. I was hoping to see some pictures. I mean, a lot of pictures of Winterfest, but that was all the people getting in.
Right, we need to have a Google Drive thing that throws some photos on.
Well, we have a Facebook page that we really should update on. I just haven't gotten around to it. I know we were
But short of that, which is more complicated, we have to
Yeah.
have somewhere for people to share.
And can I quickly say, I apologize that I wasn't there. I ended up spending pretty much all that time at urgent care that day. So
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So the priorities are pretty
you're not a pleasant guy. I'm sorry though.
No,
Yeah.
don't be silly. You were very supportive beforehand. That's
Are you,
what was important.
are you healthy again?
Yes, knock on touch wood, as the Canadians would say, touch wood. Yeah, I am. Actually, I just came from a day build of Habitat, so I got to be healthy.
Oh,
Oh,
Where's that?
It's on Route 66, Woodland Drive. Yeah, very exciting.
yes. Well, beyond like the actually getting it done. I mean, we were talking a little bit before about turnout and modest, let's call it.
Yeah,
But,
I feel like that particular part of Winterfest, there weren't very many people around. I
thought-
have memories of, like, the horse-drawn cart thing of there being long lines waiting to get on that, and there weren't any. So that had something to, there was a lot of stuff going on indoors. I think it was so cold.
that was, I don't remember exactly from years past, but I ended up over at Keystone Mill for a little while after I left because I was trying to track my kids
Was it crowded there?
It was so crowded there.
Well, that's good.
Had people all over. So in the end, like maybe doing something over there wouldn't have been the worst.
Who knows? Yeah.
But I did think that 50 Payson would have been a little bit more of a hub of activity as well. And like even like the food truck and everything, it didn't quite draw.
Yeah.
I think later in the day was a little bit better as well because they had the people, doing the plunge over there, and I think that attracted a crowd. Maybe we could have been closer to where things were happening at the pond, whereas I think there were just more people kind of focused in that area. But we could also look at doing something a little different next time as well, like an indoor activity or something like that. They have plenty of opportunities and options for things.
But so given the fact that it's the first thing we tried to do and we decided at the very last minute, the fact that it happened at all,
Totally.
and we really have to thank the people from the New England Electric Automobile Association because
Good.
very enthusiastic, and we
Yeah.
had several people here and they stayed the whole time and talked to everybody, and they were great. They were great.
They were great. And the
You
police-
think we might have had more interest had we been closer to the pond?
I was thinking over near the Chargers would have been interesting. Because
That's what I was hoping for.
There weren't that many people in that general
Yeah.
area while we were doing it. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't think it had to do with how close we were to the pond. It just
Okay.
seems like there weren't that many people there, which
Yeah.
was different from the other times I've been to Winterfest. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
They made a conscious effort to spread stuff out a little bit more and tried for something behind the mills or out on Pleasant Street or whatever it may be. But again, we also can try something different next time.
And something else that I don't know if you guys were aware of, Easthampton Savings Bank rented the trolley that's owned by
Not that day.
the company that does catering. It used to be Riffs, it's whatever that company is, for the whole day. And they just drove around to the different venues like the library, Keystone, Arcadia, the pond. And there was one other location all day long,
Right.
which of course made me think about, golly, wouldn't it be nice if it had been an electric
Right.
trolley?
Yeah.
It kind of like gave, was a little bit of, this could happen. It would be useful to have something like that in the city. Wouldn't it be great? So I thought that was interesting too. It was also very, pretty amazing that they did that because I was told that it cost like $18,000 to rent it for the entire day. So,
Really?
Jeez.
Who owns it?
the catering company, they
Oh, yeah.
use it
Lions
for
catering.
things, they transport people to various locations as part of the catering that they do.
Yeah.
Brought up something in the course of this event that I thought it's worth mentioning. And we've talked about, and there's actually two things. One is how frustrated, kind of disempowered you felt about being able to communicate with
Do you want to talk
several
about that
people
now?
at the same time, given, our perception of public meeting laws. And I think we should bring this to the solicitor, whoever they call it, town lawyer, for clarification. There's nothing deliberative about what was happening other than which foot to put in front of the other and where to put the signs. It's not a committee, not a town policy, not any kind of decision making. We had to check that out because you felt inhibited about contacting more than one other person at a time.
Yeah, and this is going to come up more and more as we try to have events, because
Right.
what would have been so much easier for me and made more sense is if like decisions like where are we going to put the cars, for example,
Yeah.
I could just throw it out to everybody in the committee
Right.
and then have people respond
Right,
back and
right.
forth, because that's not legal. So I couldn't even keep everybody on top of what was happening and what the plans were, because that would have been a meeting. So, I felt bad that I wasn't contacting everyone. And also it just meant that I felt like I couldn't make decisions because I didn't get feedback. It was very crazy.
The flip side,
I wonder if there's a way around that. We should check with someone in the city that if there's a
Yes.
way around that where it's not necessarily considered a meeting. We're not making any decisions about what EAC does. If it's just having to do with goings on that day, there shouldn't be any reason why we can't communicate with each other at that.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I think in theory, if anytime all of us are talking about a topic, like you know more about this than I do, and we're going back and forth and making decisions, that is considered a meeting, even if it's about Winterfest, you know, would you agree with that?
That's my interpretation.
Yeah.
So
that's
I agree that it's a pain in the butt, but who was it we were talking to that was talking about how they had to get around that?
Oh, well, what Winterfest finally
Winterfest.
did, because they are a city committee, I guess, they have a separate group that they formed that does certain things that is not considered part of the formal.
We could do that then.
You know,
We'll just form a separate group.
how they have that set up, but it's a formally set up group that does stuff outside of.
We could call it the events. We could call it the events committee, and the people on it could be the 5 of us. Seriously.
question then is, do you have to have a parallel set of meetings to deal with the same issues? Because one is that we're doing things as a city committee, and then you're doing stuff outside of that. If they're deciding these things out here, do they have to be coordinated with the committee and decided?
I don't think it needs to be all 5 of us necessarily. I think, as some things come up, we can do sort of a subcommittee type thing, or just a subset of people, 2 or 3 people, maybe. I know when we get to 3, then we start to get in that, quorum issue. But if it is set up specifically to just deal with like a specific event or something like that, that's not a deliberative or not policy related in any way, I think something like that could be okay. It could also be a type of thing where if we're going to be doing something, say with, and the Bees committee is going to be involved, it could be like 2 people from this committee, 2 people from that committee, and they're empowered to go and just like figure it out, what between them. And because it's only 2 from each, we don't have to worry about.
I think that's the thing ahead of time. Like, if we had just decided at the last meeting, Connie's going to take care of this.
Well, that's,
But we didn't decide that, and I didn't feel comfortable like making decisions unilaterally because I hadn't been given.
Yeah, no, I use the word empowered there, and I mentioned this to you the day of as well. And like, I'm a consensus builder. Of course, I don't like just like throwing down things and whatever. But like in a situation like that, you should have been empowered to be like, I will just figure out where the cars are going to go, and I'll deal with Winterfest, and I don't need to bring it back to your 4 other people's opinions about this. I'm just going to do it because like that doesn't need.
But we hadn't ever discussed it.
Sure. No, and I get it. You don't want to feel like you're overstepping or you're running roughshod over anybody else. And that's commendable. But at the same time, in a situation like that, it's sort of like, okay, you have the power to just make some decisions and like get some things in place, and then come back to us. And then if somebody has a suggestion or a change, they can offer that. But it doesn't have to be this total deliberative process necessarily.
But Josh, thank you for everything that you did. Anything I asked you to do, you just did.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks to John for coming for the afternoon.
Yes, and thank you, John,
as well,
absolutely.
and hanging out.
And I learned some interesting things about the police Tesla, and which I didn't understand. He explained to me, the policeman who was there explained to me that that vehicle is not ideal. They can't, because it has a glass roof, they can't put in a useful antenna that's powerful enough for them to be able to monitor other police radios, in the area, which is obviously ridiculous. And they can't put lights on top of it because of the roof. So, and he also explained to me they could never put a cage in the back. They could never use it as what you think of as a typical police car because of the way it's configured. So that was interesting. I hadn't.
Yeah, they had to have some other special modifications made to get the console in there.
Yeah,
and like sort of, it was interesting. All right. Well, while we're talking about that, let me move into some updates from the mayor. I did speak with the mayor last Friday to just go over some things, catch her up on some things, and also get some updates from her side of some things that are happening. So I've learned some interesting things I'll share here, which is about some electric vehicle stuff for the city, that there are with additional procurement going on for some additional electric vehicles for the city fleet. I think maybe 8 leases in total.
Great.
And we spread out between DPW and I think the building inspector and some other groups. Overall, bunch of different types of vehicles that they're getting. They're getting like several different types depending on the applicant.
When you say the DPW, what was the other?
DPW, the building inspector and the
Assessor.
assessor, I think, are gonna split one. And there's gonna be, highway department, I think they said, which is part of DPW. I
That's plenty,
unfortunately
that's
left my
plenty.
notes. Yeah, I left my actual notes in the notebook.
So have they decided what they're gonna get? Have they-
Yeah, there were several different models that were coming in for some of the different applications.
That's wonderful.
Cool.
No, they're not Teslas in
Yeah.
this case. There's a
Yeah.
Nissan, there were some other ones,
That's all I wanted to know.
yeah.
No Teslas. No Teslas.
no Tesla.
Oh, here's an interesting thought, though. Are they going to install new chargers for those, or will they be charged in the public?
Yeah, good question. So there's some information on like additional charging stations that the city's trying to get to. There's been a process with Eversource about, selecting locations and like where things might go and like, where they're able to go. So the city, I think, wants a couple more on city property that they can use for that sort of thing, but they're also looking at opportunities to put them in other places around the city. And Eversource has some ideas on, the types of places they'd like sort of high traffic, high visibility, high usage areas. Nothing's set in stone about where those might go, but the mayor seemed optimistic that we may get some approvals on sites at some point and start to move forward with that. And including, I think, maybe those will be level 3. One spot she did mention too for something is like out by the new Dunkin', like Route 5,
at the end of the rail
Mount
trail.
area. Yeah,
Hey,
like
watch out, you're getting
that
into
area.
Bruce's territory.
I know. He knows about that.
Non-compete clause here.
He knows about that.
So some interesting stuff with the charging stations. She did say with the city fleet too, the overall goal is to eventually like downsize the number of vehicles that the city owns and like again moving in the direction of all electric here very soon.
What's the,
So
has it always been leases before? I thought previously we purchased. Is
so I know
somebody
they
going
purchased for the police department because I think that was part of like the green grant was
Yeah.
the green communities
Yeah.
grant where you had to own it. But
So these
I
will all
think these
be
will be leased.
leased.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think
Just
just
still get credit for that, I would assume with
yeah. Let's see, the other things, so I broke this out a little bit, but the sustainability coordinator has an offer has been made and accepted. From what I understand, John said he heard an early March start date for this person. I had a message out to the mayors. I was asking if they could fill me in on who it was. Maybe we could have invited them today.
You weren't on the committee.
What's that?
You weren't on the interview committee.
I was not, no, and yet I asked about it as they were in process, and they're like, oh, we were just moving fast.
And what's the start date?
I heard March 3rd from the DPW.
Yeah, it's a woman, I believe, I don't know her name, but I've heard it was a very good candidate.
Excellent. That's such good news.
That's
I'm
great.
as I think about the business partner program,
Yeah.
that person would be running it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't want to develop it without them on board. So
Right.
that's great news.
Yes.
Is that I can't remember, full-time?
It is full-time.
Okay, great, thanks.
On the part-time front is the energy advocate, which
Yes.
is the one that will be working with the Mass Save Community First Partnership first and foremost. That job is posted. That's one that we'll be sharing with Northampton and Westhampton. I don't know any progress on applicants or anything for that yet. I'll talk more about
Posted?
that program in a minute. I believe it has been posted at this point, yeah.
On all 3 cities' websites or
I
just-
know it's on ours. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay,
I think it may just be on the Easthampton site.
Okay.
Because Northampton was requesting it, but, yeah. So, I'll try to check in at some point about, whether we're seeing any action with that. We want somebody in place by, early April, I'd say, if possible. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. So then while we're talking about other stuff and we talk about Winterfest, the thing that I neglected to put on here, which is in discussion, is possibly some sort of Earth Day, public facing event. I know, John, I know you sent some message out to the mayor and others, like looking for guidance on what date might be best. April 27th seemed like kind of the best possibility, which is
For me.
for
And-
you.
and Also,
also it's not,
Lindsay agreed.
and yeah, it's not
Lindsay-
Easter weekend, so
Lindsay
it's,
agreed with that, yeah.
yeah. So I think if we want to look at April 27th, I think that's.
And what are we thinking of doing? This is news to me.
Up
We
for
were
grabs.
planning to do
I
this.
said that.
Well, we talked about it.
No, I know you said
Originally, I
that,
didn't
but-
copy it, I just said.
But
that
in our
this-
meeting, I thought we had said that we weren't sure we wanted to take on, I'm not complaining about it. I just didn't
At the last meeting, we talked about
Oh,
doing
okay, I
something.
guess I missed that.
Yeah, we did mention that we were.
No, you did send it to me, John. I'm not complaining about it.
So yeah, I mean, the ideas are a little bit up for grabs, but we've got, we've got all these other things. We got aggregation, we've got, the Electrify program, we got the Mass Save Community First Partnership. There's all these different things. We got the climate action plan, which, we could promote, if the city's got maybe some other new electric vehicles, maybe we put those on display or do something around that.
So just to clarify for me, so what we're thinking of is having something that the city runs that's about all of the new initiatives that have come up recently. We want
Around
people to
Earth
know
Day,
about.
it's around the climate action plan, it's about all the
Okay.
initiatives happening in the city. Yeah, and again, we gotta, meet the new sustainability coordinator, meet the energy advocate, whatever. I mean, all these things could be part of it.
I'm so excited to have labor.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so it could
Yeah,
be,
so-
there's lots of things that could be on. John, I don't know if you've had any other thoughts on ideas or
Not
what it
details,
could
but
be.
I mean, to me, there's two points to it. One is educating or informing. I'd rather use the word informing. Implies people are uneducated. Informing people about stuff we're doing and what we want them to know about along the climate action plan, all the stuff we're doing. So getting the word out, face to face. And the second is possible recruitment of people, into the work group, either as
Yeah.
fellow organizers, many members, fellow organizers, or, sign me up for that, home energy audit, or,
Yeah, I wonder if we could get Mass Save to.
Well, I mean,
Energy advocate.
the energy advocate, is the Mass Save Community First Partnership, but maybe we could get, one of their vendors to come. Or if we've got the Electrify thing in place, right, that group that's running that is also a Mass Save vendor, so they could be kind of doing double duty. Assuming that I think we've got a little progress on that we can talk about in a minute. Yeah, that, we could do the community solar thing going too. I did speak with the mayor about the Sunwealth thing and maybe, approving that and like getting that moving so that they could, I need to send her some follow-up about that, but,
So,
yeah, so we could have, a community solar group there talking about that. We could have,
I'm just thinking about, I wonder whether we could just sort of put out a call in some way to vendors, like solar installers, and because we can't really have like one vendor come to something if it's run by the city. Because that would
you invite
suggest-
everybody.
That would suggest that that's what I'm saying. It seems like we should do some sort of an open, we're gonna have this event if you want to come and have a.
we could certainly
stall.
do that and open it up, but I mean, we don't want it to be like a sales
Yeah,
forward sort of thing
Yeah.
either, right? I don't want every residential solar company
Yeah.
showing up, trying to get leads,
Right.
from people showing up to this. It's
Right.
more supposed to be informational, right? It's like,
but
Um,
don't you think it would be useful to have something informational about solar panels as well? I mean, that's because that's what we don't have
Sure.
yet. If we're doing heat pumps, I don't know, what do you think?
Sure.
And if
there's
so, how would
different
we
ways
do
to
it?
do that. Doesn't necessarily have to be a
Right.
a vendor.
So how-
I was thinking about, it's a little tricky, but for interested people to say, drive to the land, have a time during the day where you can drive to landfill and get a tour of the solar at the landfill. And maybe
That's an
the
interesting
company
idea.
representative would be there, or the DPW, somebody, an engineer, somebody who knows the nitty gritty of it. There's a guy over, I was gonna talk to this person. I don't know if there's another person in our city who's got geothermal. I've not heard of it. They might. But there's a person over near Treehouse that saw geothermal this last summer. I want to talk to them and find out if they are happy with it working, and would they be a site for somebody to come talk. It's not something you can really look at so much, but with the inside. Anyway, sort of some hands-on stuff. Yeah.
So-
But the hard part, only one more word, it's just that the hard part about a lot of the stuff we have to offer is that it's not show and tell touchy things. It's, sign up for this, maybe sign up for that. So you have to think up some way to really, in a visual way, catch their eyes. Maybe it's 6 different tables. Here's all the things that we're doing and you can sign up for, and this will solve this problem for you. And this over here can address another problem you have, and have something physical, poster boards, whatever, to draw people in. Because that's mostly what we have, is not
That's right.
real physical stuff.
But,
Good.
Can I suggest that we have like a craft activity for kids? Like a science experiment or something with the sun, or I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm not a teacher, but
Yeah.
Yeah, so families,
That might-
families are good.
might draw
good
kids in.
Yeah, I could get somebody who would, potentially do like face painting.
you know,
Or do we
There
want
we
to do
go.
just like a little thing like that?
I feel like we need, some people, and could be, maybe it'd be a cross committee. I don't know about the BES.
Right, well, I could
but
bring in-
Connie,
I would think
Connie
Connie
Dedham said she'd be interested in helping. I don't expect we'd get, Lindsay at a meeting, but she said in response to the email,
Right.
I'm available to help. But I think rather than piecemeal add on this, that, and the other, say, okay, what do we have for possible labor, in our committee and outside the committee? So how big can we go?
Mhm.
What are the lead times in preparing stuff? Is there, budget or money? Let's kind of scope this out a little bit, not
Right.
just
Yes.
jump into it. Sit down, go
Thank
through a little
you.
scoping session.
Yeah.
What's involved? How much time do we have? What can we pull off effectively and not get in over our heads and then blow it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So another thing I was thinking after what you said, John, is another way we could consider getting information is to have some scheduled presentations. Like if we do end up being able to use the library space, that new space of theirs,
Mhm.
like if we had, if we had some, PowerPoint presentations about heat pumps, just basic information about heat pumps, same thing with solar panels, same thing with the aggregation program, and schedule them like, every half hour, there's going to be a presentation, and just, this is the schedule if you want to find out about this stuff. And then people can just,
Another
when you go to
approach,
some museums, you can walk into the little room where they have
Right.
the video explaining stuff.
Right.
It would be sort of like that,
Except live.
except live. Live would be
Sure, you could run a
ideal.
video, but
I mean,
that's.
yeah, live would be better, yeah. Because like John and I are taking the coaching course, and their intro PowerPoint is actually explaining, we could put together a PowerPoint about how heat pumps work without too much trouble, the basic information, for example. And same with, none of this stuff, and the aggregation one, I think it would actually be very useful. Instead of having to say the same thing over and over and over again to people and maybe not saying exactly the right thing, if we had a PowerPoint presentation that we could just keep showing to people as part of the intro, the aggregation program.
Right. Well, that sounds like you're having this be more of like an indoor event too.
Well,
versus outdoor,
I'm just
or-
saying both. I'm saying,
Mm.
along with the other stuff we're doing, if we have access to that space, that could be an indoors, that if people are interested in sitting down to a 15-minute presentation about these topics, here's the schedule. This is when we're going to be doing it. You can watch it. They're 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the afternoon. We're going to show this about this
Yeah.
particular topic. I'm just throwing out the idea,
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that comes back to this idea of like a sort of a scoping session and, what's reasonable to do, where do we want to do it, like where's gonna be the best visibility? If we want to keep a schedule and all that, then you've got to really get the word out to a lot of people to get enough people to show up for different things that are happening at set times. I mean, think about all the work that goes into Winterfest and all the different things. It's like this day at this time in this place, this is happening, done by
I guess I'm
this
thinking about
person.
it as being a little more casual, that people might
Sure.
just scroll and say, oh, they're doing a thing about aggregation. They want to sit down and look at it, as opposed to expecting, 20, an audience of 20 people. Just because, as opposed to standing at a table, 'cause my experience with standing at tables and trying to get information to people is that you do an awful lot of talking, but you don't really talk to that many people because everyone else walks by because you're talking to somebody else.
I just think that trying to do it that way and trying to get people to show up at set times is overestimating people's capacity to plan and like be interested and engaged in that sort of thing.
See, I guess
ahead of
I'm
time.
thinking it's just going to be people walking by, decide to stroll in and because they see it's there, I guess. The real question is how
Yeah.
many people would actually show up to this.
I don't think there's that much foot traffic up there by the
Yeah.
library, if that's what you're talking about, I think.
Yeah, well, that brings up the other thing that we talked about when we were talking about, in general, doing this is piggybacking on existing events. So that means we wouldn't be able to do it on Earth Day.
Mhm.
But, if we want crowds, if it's an event that a lot of people go to anyway, we're more likely to, because how many people are really going to show up for Earth Day, do you think?
We don't know,
Yeah.
but this is an Earth Day event, so talking, going off on what other events we can piggyback on takes us out of Earth Day, takes us.
It does, but
So
I'm
let's
talking
consider it,
realistically about what our capacity is. That's what we were talking about before, is what is our capacity to do a big individual event? And I'm just asking, like, realistically, what could we do? These are all wonderful ideas, but
That's not an easy
what can we
question
really
to answer
do?
on the spot. And go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I think we have a little missed opportunity about getting the word out with the Facebook. I think if we could, maybe if we could help you, Connie, if you're in charge of the Facebook page, one of us do it too.
I'm not in charge of the Facebook page. I guess you're in charge of the Facebook
I
page.
guess theoretically, I posted something about the last thing and then I shared it in one place, like to one of the groups, but there really could be a more concerted effort to what Josh is making about.
That's
I
true.
mean,
All five of us share it. We shared that link to the EAC page.
Yeah, and share it to, the various groups that we're in that are all town related
Yeah.
and what.
We
And all-
definitely
all
could have a
friend groups
much more
too.
active presence on Facebook, without a doubt. One of the questions that I actually had about it is, in order to, there's a Easthampton group and there's an Easthampton Friends and Neighbors group, which we can't post on because we don't belong to those groups. But can we join those groups as a
You can
city
share
page?
as
Yeah,
a-
you'd have to join it as an individual, but yes, you can.
to that page as an individual. Like I
Yeah,
could share.
yeah, that's what I did do that, but that's like, I don't know whether they would let us join the committee. Maybe
I
they
would join that group as
Well,
the.
you just join that group. And then you
don't know.
post something. If you posted something to it, whoever the administrator of that group is would
You can't
have
post
the
it if you're
opportunity,
not a member.
would have the opportunity not to let that go live. But if you're not doing anything offensive, I don't
Right.
see why they wouldn't let it go.
Right, you have to join in order to post in those committees. That's why
Yes,
we
you
do
do. It's not a committee, it's a group.
group, sorry,
Stay on
yeah.
the topic.
Can I make a
Okay,
suggestion?
well, hold on one second. Yes, go ahead.
No, I'll wait.
No, go ahead.
This changes it from April 27th, but might we consider partnering with, I cannot remember their name, National Monarch or something, Land Trust,
Oh,
that
the
does
Pasco
the
one.
plant sale in the spring in the parking lot. And I think our
Popular.
stuff,
Sorry,
lots of people go to that.
Yeah.
what date?
And they
Like
do
May?
it
Is it
sometimes
May?
in May.
Gives us more time.
Gives us more time. It will guarantee us foot traffic.
to be able to do it in the Big E
got it,
parking lot.
They do it at Mason.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
I thought they did it's a Big E
Mm-mm.
sometimes. Okay.
I got my pig nut hickory there.
Okay. Yeah,
That's,
they were-
I'd like to throw that out because it's a guaranteed mass of people.
I'm not set on the Earth Day week myself. I just, that's a natural time.
It
to
is
think
a
about
natural
it. But
time.
on the other hand, well, we can create our own Easthampton Earth Day atmosphere on another day. And if, if we're already getting more traffic in and we can kind of piggyback with somebody else like that. I would just suggest that, if we're talking Earth Day, that's about 9 weeks from now.
Ooh, that's not much time.
We're gonna have a sustainability coordinator on for most of that, but they can't get slammed with this and expected to
Right.
get ready, on the rest of their jobs. They're not gonna be able to, they might be able to pick up a little bit of responsibility on it. I'm available to spend, maybe 5-10 hours a week until I go away about 6.5 weeks from now. I have a plane ticket back so that I can be here for the event, but for the 2 weeks leading up to it, I won't be here. So I have to do my part of it in the next 6.5 weeks. I'm just gonna suggest we somehow get a meeting together. Maybe we have to announce it publicly and no harm done. If we do, and somebody wants to come and join us, set us up another meeting in a week or two, as soon as it's possible to do that, for a planning committee to come up with a
plan.
Maybe I'll write something up for it to work off of, but maybe Connie, we get Connie here, whoever from this.
Yeah,
group.
I like doing stuff like this. The only thing I'm concerned about is just the reality of doing something ourselves and whether or not we could pull it off and have enough people come to make it worth the effort,
Yeah.
as opposed to piggybacking on something else. But I'm more than happy to work on it. Absolutely.
One angle on this to keep in mind, I think, is it's not an event for the sake of an event or just, making a big splash and a lot of, fun and activities. Yeah, that's great. But my whole point I had in mind was that we've never really announced and presented what the gist of the climate action plan,
Right,
other than in a pre-meet, whatever they call those, input meetings. There was a short article in the paper, maybe.
Right.
That's the framework for everything we're doing, hopefully. Municipal aggregation, you had a short article, I think, and people have heard about it.
Right.
The,
There'll be
the-
more too, because we'll
Yeah.
get to that. But
the contractor getting off the ground soon, hopefully, and the Easthampton, Northampton electrification thing,
Mhm.
energy advocate work, a million things. The mayor added a few. Just to present it as a related, connected whole. And wow, amazing what the city is really
Absolutely.
trying to take on.
Yeah.
Whether you get a huge audience or not, maybe you get at least a Gazette.
Yeah.
And maybe you try to get, local radio station or something to come and see what's going on, what's being
Well, if
said,
you
and
do
you
a-
get some spin-off publicity from that.
Yeah, and try to do it beforehand too, to get to the Facebook thing or whatever. Like if you can get the city, get Lindsay to do a press release saying, hey, this is happening. The Gazette picks up a story and it says,
Yeah.
this Saturday in Easthampton, this is going on. Then all of a sudden, a lot more people have seen it.
So that, I guess just the question is, what exactly is it gonna be? And we need to have a separate meeting.
We
about it.
need
We
to-
could
yeah.
spend the next 2 hours
That's right.
hashing that out.
Totally, yeah. I mean, it'll take a while to get the shape of it and the specifics. I was just looking up the Pascomic Trust.
Oh, aren't you good? I was
Well,
trying
because
to-
I know I have emails from them. They don't have a date for the plant sale listed. I know they have their annual meeting coming up March 4th, which I will not be able to attend because I'll be out of town, but, yeah, they have that, but they did say in the fall, they did an estate sale because they had like one of their members that was like
Oh,
clearing
right.
out a bunch of stuff.
Huh.
And that was a huge success. They said they are going to do another one of those in May. It's not going to be as big, but it is another event that they're going to do, I think, somewhere around here in May. So if we did want to try to piggyback on something with them, yeah, you can see if they've got anything up. Their annual meeting's March 4th.
I think I'll include that.
I would like to go to it as well.
I get it.
Can you scroll down and just see if they have the plant sale listed?
Hold on 1 second.
Okay, sorry. Being impatient.
Yes, I could go.
Okay. That's all they.
No.
Okay, so I'd imagine they may set that.
Yeah.
At that meeting.
The other group that we might consider trying to pair with is the Arts Council, because they do a lot of events.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe, and they're really good at using public media. They're always posting stuff. I don't really know whether they'd be interested, but, that's would be another possibility, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a few other, I mean, I think trying to glom onto another existing event is an interesting idea. Valley Bike, who is out there, they might want to be a part of this as well, because springtime's going to be big for them to start getting people out and about on there. So that
You could probably get a food truck to come.
you could probably get a food truck to come, yeah.
Sounds like we need a brainstorming
Well,
session.
that's what we're talking, we need to do this.
Right.
Whittle it down.
Can we get it, if, assuming these people can coordinate their schedules in the next week, 10 days, 2 weeks, to get a meeting together to brainstorm and to lay out a couple options to then go back to us and whoever they report to, who's
Mhm.
going to participate.
Wait, who are you
What
talking
about one or two
Nobody's
people,
specific yet.
two people from our committee,
Oh,
to avoid the
Yeah,
quorum issue? Try to get Connie or somebody.
Yeah, and I
Connie
can-
and or whoever else, city council, maybe Lindsay can sit in because she's got some broad knowledge of what the city can and can't do and easily and resources, and do a brainstorm, can we do this?
Mhm.
Small scale,
I think that's a great idea. Because I
Yeah,
feel like
work back.
I'm unclear about what kind of participation the city actually intends to have. They just think it's a great idea, go do it. Or are there things that they actually want to do because of some of these issues, like the CAP irrigation program, the new sustainability coordinator, all sort of city things,
Right.
that it's just not clear to me exactly.
Well, it hasn't been set. Yeah,
The
Right.
mayor
That's why I'm
said, the mayor
saying I
said she
think it
thought
would-
it was a great idea.
Right.
Lindsay liked it. I mean, Lindsay,
Yeah.
Connie, Lindsay
Yeah.
said she'd be available, so we need to have them sit down.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I think it's a great idea to have a conversation with them to see what.
Because we can't do it all by ourselves.
Yeah,
We need
and
some-
I'll pitch it at the Bees Committee meeting later and see if anybody from that committee is interested in being part of
That would be
that.
good.
Cause I know that they might want to do some stuff around invasives or plants or springtime,
It's
lawns.
planting
and-
season.
It's planting season, exactly.
Maybe, they made this new sustainability coordinator may be available already to attend a meeting if it's a week,
Yeah.
10 days from now or so. But in the absence of that, I could ask Michelle over at the DPW, who seems to be in the center of the goings on there, and she knows about the stuff that goes into the game communities report. She's Greg's assistant, I think. Anderson's. Maybe somebody like that could represent those guys because they're part of all of this.
Mhm.
And we may discover that we can do something for Earth Day. I don't think we
Right.
should rule it out, but
Right.
I just think we should be realistic
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that we can actually pull something off.
disagreement.
Okay, so from this group, John, obviously you want to be a part of it, and then,
I'm happy to be a part of it.
okay, you want to have the two of you kind of be the focal points from our group right now.
Sure.
And then you all can work with the others, Connie, Lindsay, potential Bees committee members to be named later, to coordinate a time to all get together.
And then the only
Start to
other
put
thing
some
is,
shape to
if we
this.
find that we can't find a time that everyone can meet, then maybe we, among ourselves, could just schedule another formal meeting, just to have that be the only thing on the agenda.
Yeah, we could throw something on the calendar if we need to. We've
That's-
done that before, but
I think we might need that, not instead of this other meeting, but as a
In
response to
addition
what
to.
this other group comes up with.
yeah.
If they say, if they say, forget it, it's not gonna work, we're not gonna get any help from any of us.
So should we
No.
just schedule a
And
meeting
if-
among ourselves
if there's some
now?
thought, then if that's the case, then we don't have to have another meeting.
Right.
If everyone's excited and we'll kick in and here's some ideas, and here's this idea of the scope of it, then we'll need to get you guys behind it. And as a committee, this is a committee thing. We have to come back to the committee, and that's a reason to then try to organize an inter or whatever you call
Right.
it.
But what?
Or we can
Don't we
carve
have-
out more time at our next meeting. I don't want to put another meeting on the calendar.
You don't,
right now.
okay,
No, I don't want to go through the process of doing
Okay.
that
How
before
long does
we,
it take?
before
A
we.
week or 10 days to
You
get?
only need 48 hours on the agenda to submit for a public notice period. So, for instance, like today I submitted on Tuesday for today's meeting. So if we get it, I mean, if we want Google Meet links and stuff like that, I got to play a little bit more ahead for some of that stuff. But we can put something on the calendar relatively quickly if need be.
so are you going to, are we going to organize this multi-group meeting? You're going to have to be.
I'll talk to these. If there's anybody there that's interested, I will connect them with you all. You can bring Connie and Lindsay into it and just say,
So we're going to organize.
so you're
it.
going to organize that. You're going to take that
Okay.
group and say, hey, we're trying to get, we've got a small steering committee, planning group, whatever you want to call it, to feasibility study here for what we
Sounds good.
can do, try to narrow down date and some specific.
Once we get the names, I'd propose to put out I don't know what they do any of these days. It's another platform, but call it just the meeting thing, the
Agenda?
meeting organizing date thing.
I've
Oh.
doodle.
I used to do doodle, yeah. I don't know what they do these days. I could put out a doodle thing. So mayor's office, the DPW, the bees person, us, to
Right.
try to find a time in the next, hopefully less than 2 weeks, 10 days maybe to get together. We ask you about
Right.
if we need to, well, if that kind of a committee with only two from, that
Yeah,
doesn't
then you
need
just
us.
do whatever. No, you guys
Yeah,
come just me. It's
okay.
just to
And we'll see if we can get them together.
explore.
If it's just me and Connie, we gotta rethink this.
It's going to be smaller.
But one last thought is just, we can think of this as a task and just be worried about whether we're up to it, but we also have to remind ourselves that a lot of the communication of what we're doing and educating the public and making them aware of it and interested, we're facing that, whether we have an Earth Day or not. We're facing that problem about how to get it
Right.
out there. And
Yep.
so this is an opportunity to get us off ourselves off our asses to focus on that job of how to, what forum and what
Yeah.
mediums to use to get this out to people. So it's a tight timeline, but
Just one other thought. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
What about maybe more will be known about taxes, but getting someone there that knows the current thinking about
you know,
tax implications, the rebates and
For
Mm.
solar, electric vehicles,
For everything.
everything.
a tax person.
Right. Could
Just a
potentially-
thought. I mean,
Yeah.
because that really factors into your thinking on these kinds of investments.
Or someone knows about incentives. I mean,
No, I'm not talking about taxes. Because it is huge. I mean, Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. They're huge enough they can't be ignored. But I think the people who sell or push those types of people who sell solar panels, they're the ones who will be the best to say what the tax benefits are. And people who sell electric cars, they're
Okay.
the ones who will
Fair
say-
enough. Okay,
Yeah. Because I'm not sure that necessarily like a CPA, get someone who's a tax accountant, that's going to be small on their radar, I think.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, sorry.
there's some good,
No, no.
there's some good matrices out there. So electric cars, solar panels, heat pumps, what are the federal, state and senate is, we can produce that on a poster and cite the website or something to give people direction.
That's a good
In terms
idea.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
EV really spells it out pretty well about cars for sure. And I don't know what the organizations are for the other issues, but I'm sure they exist.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, some, mass save is a big one. So some
Oh,
of
they
that
would know
there,
that too.
community solar groups can talk about the benefits of that. Yeah, there's heat pumps and everything else. So there will be those sorts of things. All right. So in the interest of
Fine.
time, yep. We'll have more. And the thing is, we have, one more of our meetings a month from now. We probably will have another one in April, maybe around the time that you're gone, but, depending on what the other committee comes back to, if we got an outline of what we're thinking, by the time we meet again, then we can carve out some more time from our meeting to say, okay, here's some specific tasks that each person, or that we need somebody to focus on, who can volunteer to do this, who can
Yeah.
take. And that can happen in the formal setting, and then maybe we don't need a specific, separate meeting for our committee to talk about this. If there's,
Can I put something out here? I'm going to be gone from May 3rd till May 23rd.
May
So,
3rd,
I'll do all I can before we go, but
All right, so if we
If
do
it's
April,
Earth Day, that's not gonna matter. It's
Right.
not gonna matter if it's Earth Day. If it's
No.
after, if it's one, that will probably.
and then John, you're gone when are your dates, do you know?
8 to
8 to
it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks in a day,
2nd, 23rd.
something like that. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. It's rough.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll look for reporting back on there, and I will get anybody else in touch that maybe wants to discuss with you all. All right, then moving into additional things, we'll try to do a little bit of speed run through some of this. Green communities and climate leader communities. John, is there anything from your side on the green communities reporting?
No, we just had some more rounds in January about information they were looking for, and I think what we sent them satisfied them. Haven't heard anything official, because what we're talking about is, are we going to get the climate leader designation?
Right,
Um,
and that still seems to be a
so
little bit in
no
limbo, right?
news is kind of good news in a way that they haven't, said, no, we got more problems.
Right.
It's answered their questions. There is this other thing that's coming down, which is the large building energy reporting requirement. It's a separate law or regulation. And an email came to me from Michelle at DPW, had gotten it notice from DOER, I think it was Chris at DOER, Chris Mason, about reporting on about a list of about 8 or so buildings. There's a workshop, and they were wondering, can this wait till the new sustainability coordinator to get to tackle it? There's a webinar, I told them about it, looked it up. There's a webinar on the 18th of March explaining how you comply with what you have to do, what's involved, how do you comply with it. So that's a different issue, somewhat different than the climate leader.
Okay,
There's nothing more on green communities than I know of.
The large building energy reporting.
Energy usage reporting, and I don't think you have to tell them about your renovation plans or your new equipment, energy efficiency. You just have to tell them your
So
reporting
this
program.
is private ownership, not city, any
Both.
building.
Both.
Okay.
We have large buildings.
Payson and
Mills buildings.
it's over 10,000 or it's over 20,000 or 10,000 square
Okay.
feet, 20,000, I think. So Payson,
I forgot.
both the buildings on Payson.
Yeah.
There's one they listed on Williston. It must be Williston's.
Mhm.
There's a bunch.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
Have a
That's-
few. Okay. Yeah, we haven't heard anything more about the climate leader designation. Yeah, we've theoretically submitted everything we needed to submit for that. I thought we would have heard on that by now, but so they're not quite ready to roll that out. I know they were doing some other, webinars for municipalities to learn more about doing that. So they're probably trying to get everybody to catch up and get through that process. Our former Cassie, from the conservation agent was way ahead of the game with that, apparently. Okay. And then, the competitive grants for green communities, there is a spring round for that. Again, I don't think anyone's sat down and identified something to go after. That's going to be a sustainability coordinator piece to think about and look at and talk to the mayor about and figure out what if anything, we might want to go for in the future. Municipal aggregation. So we had an article in the paper, got quoted in that. That was fun. We did have a sort of a kickoff meeting or just a catch-up meeting with the folks at Good Energy before that. That's what I was catching the mayor up on as well. I don't think that may have happened since we last met. So just a quick bit is that what happens now is they're getting together all the information about all the electricity users. So they're gathering all the information on residential and commercial usage so that they can package that all up to go out to bid to the various suppliers. They've said they have, 3 suppliers that they generally work with that they're gonna go to. That there'll be a little bit of an RFP, process, put it out there, or bid process. It all happens pretty quickly though, because the world of energy prices is volatile. So it's not like it's gonna sit out there for a month. It's gonna be, here's the information, turn it around. We're gonna get some bids. We're gonna see what the price points are for the 3 levels, right? The basic, the plus, and the budget options. And then we're gonna decide whether we want to move forward with them.
Based on the bids.
Based on the bids, and then the city has to sign off on the contract. Basically, again, happens fast. This isn't not a thing where the city solicitor gets to like redline it and like send it back and forth. It's like, these are pro forma contracts, and you basically just sign off on it. And I did talk to the mayor about that. She said that was fine. Looking at something that's probably in the area of 2 to 3 years. So, fairly long term to lock in pricing. And if you're following the news right now, know that the governor is already like talking to the utilities about the crazy, costs that everybody's dealing with. So, really hoping that we'll see pricing that'll come in under where we're at now, and what we can reasonably project will be under what, future rates will look like, and have this be a savings for local folks. Once that contract is signed, then the program really gets going, and there are, looking at a June, July implementation time. In between that, when you have to have a more public notice period, you have to have mailers that go out. Everybody has to be notified that this is happening. There is an opt-out period, right? There's a 30-day opt-out period where anybody that wants to can opt out of the program. Anybody that's already on a third-party supplier will not be opted into the program, but they can choose to opt into the program. And then that all happens. Again, we may have to do some additional public notice, and I don't know that we have to do any public meetings necessarily. But there will be, stuff in it. And if we're doing a public-facing event during that time, that's going to be a time that we'll be prepared to talk about what's happening and when. But again, for a June or July implementation, and then, again, looking for a contract that will run through the end of probably 2027 or 20. And then come that time it happens, the switches get made. It's relatively seamless for everybody. Nobody needs to do any paperwork really. It'll just start showing up in the bills, and just your EverSource bill. And
Instead of an energy.
no, it'll be. I think the supplier just changes in there, and the rate changes
Well, I remember
on
that
your
supplier
EverSource
field.
bill.
Yeah.
So you won't have to do anything different. You still pay EverSource, and then EverSource will work it out on the back end with the supplier, with our
Very cool.
Easthampton Community Electricity, or whatever exactly the program is called. So
What they typically do, Good Energy, on their end about outreach?
yeah, they've got a whole thing. They're going to be handling almost all of it in terms of like the nuts and bolts.
Do they do any, I'm just curious whether we can piggyback off of them. Do they just do mailings, or do they have events?
No, they're not going to do events
Okay,
or anything like that.
If they
okay.
do a mailing, am I right that they wouldn't want to water down and confuse people with
Right.
adding other things in?
No,
because
and I think legally, I don't know how much they could do that anyway, because again, there's like laws about what they have to send and like how far in advance.
I just have a question about, so implementation is June, July. So when will people get the formal letters, do you think?
Well, if the contracting happens in March, let's say, then very soon thereafter is when you've got your public notice period, and you got to start getting the word out. So people are going to start hearing stuff in, April and May are going to be the big times for all that. And again, I don't know exactly when all the,
Right.
there was maybe, an email at some point that actually. Let me see if I
You
can
mean
find-
marketing with the results of the contract?
No, I mean, not
Okay.
even marketing. It's just like, well, there's a public notice period, like the opt-out period, and I have to let people know that is, yeah.
I'm sorry, so I'm just trying to understand. So there's a 30-day public notice period. Is that when people can opt out, or is that just informing people?
Hold on. Let's
From the time they're informed, they got 30 days from the time they're informed.
Well, that's what I'm confused about, because the city signs the contract. Then it's a 30-day notice period, but people haven't gotten their letters yet, have they?
No, that'll start from a specific date. Again, don't worry about the
Okay,
mechanism.
all right.
It's
You know what?
already,
I'm
it's
just trying-
well
Doesn't need to
oiled.
be in the minutes.
It's well
That's fine.
established, well oiled.
You know, I'm just gonna take that out of the minutes. I'm just gonna say.
That's fine.
Like,
I'm just trying to
it's too
find
much
where,
nitty-gritty that we don't have.
yeah,
exact
they
information
sent
about.
us something that had, a specific, so expected timeline,
Okay.
right? So, okay, so we updated, yeah, we've sent the new things there. Issue requests for proposals, saying between February 28th and March 14th. Negotiate ESA between February 28th and April 1st. Evaluate bids and execute ESA. That's the supply agreement between March 24th and April 1st.
Okay.
And then it doesn't say anything beyond that
Okay,
in terms of like what happens at that point.
okay.
We can recreate it.
It sounds like by Earth Day we'll have some results, whether they're,
Yeah.
there's still another whole process to go for getting people on and off it or whatever. But we
Right.
Still have results that we know what the pricing is.
Yeah, exactly. We will know that. Yeah, and we can start talking about that. Or we'll know that, you know what, we didn't like it and we ended
Yeah,
up not doing it and it's not moving forward right now. We're gonna wait and we'll go back to bid another time. I don't anticipate that's what's gonna happen, but so yeah, more information on that, especially at the next meeting. We'll know more because we'll have started the process more so and then say specifically what the extra pieces that we're gonna need to.
Well, once again, I'd really like to congratulate you, Jamie, because you're the one who started this and saw it through.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The city, thank you.
Yeah,
Be good to have it fully done and dusted.
But I know you've.
I think I looked back the last time,
it
it was 4 years, it was like January 2021 when I
Oh my
started,
God.
when I brought it. So, yeah, it was definitely
Labor of
4
love.
years time. All right, so moving on to the other programs coming up, these new electrification and efficiency programs. Electrify Easthampton, Northampton had been in a bit of a holding pattern. Fortunately, it looks like that has now broken. There's a meeting next week on the 28th, which I've been now invited to talk about how that's what's happening there and the contracting and execution of that with Mass CEC. So fingers crossed that's going to provide some clarity on actually rolling that out, what it's going to look like, who's
Is
doing
it an
what.
in-person meeting or is
It is a virtual meeting. Yeah, would you like to be included?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll ask them to
Yeah.
add you.
Yeah, can any of us attend if it's virtual, do you think?
I, for now, Cassie, right? Any reason to think that we could?
No, I'll forward everyone the invitation.
Yeah.
Or at least the link to the,
We're talking the revised contract, not the.
The revised
energy
contract,
aggregate
correct.
business. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, it's next Friday at 1:30 PM, 28th at 1:30 PM. So 2:28, yeah. 2:28, 1:30 PM. You can wish me a happy birthday.
Oh,
no.
I turned 50.
oh, you young thing.
Oh, really?
Accurate, I know. It's so weird. It's the youngest one in here. All right. So that's, yeah, we'll get more updates on that. The Mass Save Community First Partnership. Again, I've talked about the Energy Advocate posting. That's gotta be, put in place. Hopefully we'll find somebody there, find some good candidates. The kickoff meeting for that, they've now established, is going to be on April 4th. This is kind of a statewide kickoff meeting that's going to be in Framingham. None of us need to be involved in that. They really just want the Energy Advocate and toward any other team leads, which would maybe be somebody from the Northampton group, maybe the sustainability coordinator, to go to that to talk about how the program's going to work and what it's a 3-year program, right? So it's long term.
When's that date?
April 4th in
You know,
Framingham.
Is that a public media?
No,
Or is it just
you have to
working session?
RSVP. It's a working session for the municipalities that have been accepted into the
Okay.
program. So yeah, that's not
For
an
meetings,
open to the
yes.
public. I wouldn't recommend any of us.
So
trying to
what
go.
other means, I thought it was just Easthampton and Northampton.
Easthampton, Northampton, West
But
Hampton.
all over the state, they're
And
getting
West
people
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
we're not the only ones
Oh, I
entering this
didn't
program. This was a
understand that.
statewide thing of multiple municipalities have been accepted
I see.
and given money for an energy advocate.
Got
And
it.
that, is that the same as Electrify Easthampton, Northampton?
No,
I am
That's
confused.
what you were working on.
you worked on the one for this, for the Mass Save Community.
That's
First Partnership.
mine?
That's yours.
That's the
Okay.
That's the energy advocate.
For West Hampton.
Electrify Easthampton, Northampton is the revised one. That comes from the Columbia Gas
Oh,
settlement.
yes.
UMass heat, very specific to heat pumps and that sort of thing. Yeah, I know, it's kind of crazy. We have these
Yeah.
two separate things that are
There's
related.
not a lot of federal money involved in all this.
There's not, fortunately.
Yeah. Or we have it in hand.
Yeah, the mayor did mention something about an EPA grant that maybe we thought we were gonna get that maybe we're not going to get, I think. But we hadn't done any hiring or any expenditures for that so far, so, yeah, anyway, neither here nor there.
So
So so that will kick off, again, we'll hire the advocate when we can. The kickoff for that, for all the different groups is April 4th, and then hopefully things are in relatively high gear after that. And again, if we're doing an event, we can get these people there to do their jobs and
Yes.
spread the word, get people into these programs. And then the climate action plan kind of flows from that as well. That'd be a place to talk about what's in that. We have the resident guides that Connie printed previously that we can use.
Yeah, Lindsay actually printed them for us. I should
Really?
have brought one for everyone. I didn't think of that, but
look,
yeah, I'll bring one for everyone
Yeah.
next time. They're really nice. Yeah, she printed
I
50
saw
of
the
them.
online version.
Yes,
And we didn't really give very many of them away, so
Yeah.
we still have some.
You have,
so we can, potentially print some
You can
more.
have that one, John. I have more at home. You just keep.
Thanks.
So,
I'm all set. Thanks, I saw it.
Yeah.
a few thoughts.
And grab it.
So that hopefully, with a big event, we can pump that up a little bit more. And again, if we do a press release in advance and talk about that, at the same time. We have also then still the business recognition program. John brought in this, article.
Yeah, I
about
saw that.
what the Center for Ecotechnology is doing, which is a carbon conscious business accreditation program, which is going to be a little more rigorous probably than what the
Yeah.
EIC / Chamber of Commerce would do.
May I see that?
Yeah. But that's another thing that we could point businesses towards, as something that they could do to bring themselves some goodwill and, some good attention. But anything you want to talk about on the edict?
Just that the chamber is all in on this.
Right?
And they're basically waiting on me to kind of flush out the program, which I'm reluctant to do until the sustainability coordinator is on, because I'm not going to manage this program.
Right on.
With, I say lovingly and respectfully.
No, that makes sense. And we don't have to rush it. So, yeah. And then with that, you want the sustainability coordinator to be the one helping to shape sort of the parameters of the program, like what it takes to
Yeah,
achieve, what it is that they get.
and the paper flow, the website, the form to apply, who's got it, that kind of thing.
Okay. Great. Let our note taker catch up with everything. Anything else on climate action plan from anybody right now?
Why doesn't the mayor want to publicize this?
I don't think it's a case of not wanting to. I mean, knowing all the things that we have going on, I think there's a lot to do. I think, publicizing like a static document.
Well, know that we've done this important work, and I think the town
It's a plan to get to a
deserves-
goal. It's not just a static document.
True, but I think it helps to have like an event or something like that around it that you can also point to. I think it could get lost. Again, we don't have anybody here actively. We don't have the wherewithal to be out, pushing this, talking about it, like getting it in front of people the way that a sustainability coordinator, an energy advocate, or other, people could be. So I don't know, I can't speak directly for the mayor on that, just that
It just makes us sound like a cool little city and deserve credit for that.
We do.
And then like a press release. I mean, that's all I'm thinking,
Mhm.
but
Well,
whatever.
maybe she'll time this, maybe the mayor will time, I'm hoping, she times it with coordinates, I mean, here's our sustainability coordinator,
Yeah.
here's their job description, here's the climate
Right.
action plan, and here's all the things we got started already on it.
Right.
That kind of thing, and lay it all out.
Yeah, I do think,
Timing is-
yeah, I would absolutely like to have that. I mean, I do think it needs to be publicized. And I would like to do it in sort of a larger,
Got it.
comprehensive way.
Okay.
So I just wanted, so the mayor, she is planning to send out something.
I know, I didn't say.
We
that.
don't know that.
I'm
Okay.
speculating and hoping.
Yeah, but I think
Okay.
what we can, we can pin it to is maybe if they're doing a press release about the hiring of a sustainability coordinator, that could be one thing.
Yeah,
If we're doing something around like a larger event that we're gonna do for
yeah,
Earth Day, or just, maybe it's not Earth Day, maybe it's just like a celebration of Easthampton's climate action plan, and like there's all the different parts of that and all the different things that we have going on. That could be another place to publicize and get it out there. I do, usually it's just a matter of, bandwidth for everybody. I think. We wanted to do this for various reasons. Yes, to publicize it, yes, to have plans in place. Also because it opens us up for funding sources and things like that, right? That opportunities that we would need to have things like this for, like the, climate leader designation. And if we had that climate leader designation happen already, certainly we would have had a press release about that, and then would have publicized some of this stuff and all the other things that went into that, but we haven't had that yet. So, because we should be one of the first.
Just asking.
several. No, it's a fair point.
That's a quick question about the revised meeting that you mentioned coming up. And Cassie, you're gonna share the link on that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, but do we know if they've got a commence work date? Have you ever heard that much? Like, they start work by March 1st, April 1st?
No,
No, okay.
no, that's right. We don't know.
Okay.
Don't know what's been going on with the contracting process.
Okay.
So,
Hopefully that's what this meeting will tell us.
yeah, that is the hope. Shed some light on that. All right, moving on to the last couple things. I've left school bus electrification on here just as a placeholder.
Yeah, if you want to decomplicate the agenda, I just put it in a closet there somewhere
Yeah.
until the big scene changes.
I will mention, I did see something from whatever it is, WRI or whatever, the institute, that saying that the federal payment portal appeared to have been reopened for those that were like seeking payments for things that they had already been granted, but that they weren't sure how long that might last.
Yeah.
And like get in there and get what you can while you can, kind of thing. So that was mildly heartening that at least something was going on. But I mean, again, well, it's hard to know. There's going to be there's still so much momentum behind, so many of these things, whether it's solar, whether it's EVs, whether it's, it's really
Right.
hard to think that.
And there are a lot of businesses that need it to continue, that it's just, they focused, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And there'll be still lots of state pushes for stuff too. So, the community solar partnership with Sunwealth, I did mention earlier, but just to come back, I did mention this to the mayor at long last to see if she was comfortable with us partnering with that group the way they have with Cambridge and everything else. She said, "Oh yeah, that should be a problem. Just forward me some things." And she was recently in touch with the mayor of Cambridge, and no problem to check with them on whatever. So I just need to send along some things to her in her office to review. And then again, we could potentially get, Sunwealth to put out a mailer. Maybe it could be a joint thing that talks about an event we have coming up or other opportunities that we have, other programs that we have. Meanwhile, they're trying to, recruit folks for their low income community solar program.
If we got the go ahead on that would be a nice, and maybe even if we didn't, but it would be a nice feature of whatever event, Earth Day or what otherwise we put on, to be able to offer to low income parts of the community who might not otherwise want to be, interested in what you have to offer at Earth Day.
Totally. Yep, so yeah, that's a good goal to have, and so I just need to do a couple of.
So just thinking
Push everything through.
about the outreach portion and giving credit where credit is due. Do you think that we could have those kinds of publications say that the Energy Advisory Committee, it is implementing this or is spearheading this or whatever? And what do you think?
What,
In
the
terms of
Earth
like a
Day
press,
thing?
in a press
No, I mean,
release or
like,
whatever?
well, yeah, like the Sunwell thing, like,
Oh,
just any of those things, the aggregation,
Well, to the extent we were involved in one way or another, and, we should be mentioned as one of the parties that got things off the ground.
I mean, I'm really thinking about if we want more people to join this committee, then it would help if people knew we existed and that we're doing stuff, that's really what makes me say that. I don't know, just I'm throwing it out.
And, that's going to be an interesting topic to have discussed with the mayor and the DPW as we get a new sustainability manager, with the coordinator, who's housed in the DPW.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, the work may be going on over here and maybe by the sustainability coordinator, but rather than coming through the mayor or out of our own, it may be funneled out of DPW publicity and we may get lost in it.
I think the mayor's office still handles a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And they're still putting the press release out, whether it's for the fire department, whether it's for,
Right.
DPW, whatever, yeah.
Well, it did enter my mind when I was doing the electric vehicle thing that it's too bad we didn't have a banner, to say,
Yeah.
this is what this committee is doing.
Mm.
I don't know whether it would be appropriate, but it seemed like, it's like, who's doing this?
Money and labor, let's get it together. We need some money and some creative labor and.
Yeah, well, when I asked Lindsay to make those copies, I said to her, I don't know, is there any money in the budget to make copies of this for our committee? Are we allowed to even ask for that? And she did it, but it's sort of unclear what our status is in terms of spending money. It hasn't come up in the
Yeah,
past.
because we don't have.
We don't have it, budget, yeah.
Right.
We should ask, back in the early days of the EDIC, there was a budget there for us. I'm not exactly sure where it came from, but there was money.
I don't think it is anymore because I paid for my own stamps for the vacant storefront initiatives
I mean, it's not,
and
there's
envelopes.
no reason to think committees can't have budgets. It just happens to be that this one doesn't.
We've never asked for one.
And we
Well,
probably,
we should ask. I think we should ask.
Well, we would need to have an itemized,
What we want to spend
list
money
of
on.
what we
maybe it's
want
gonna be Mr. and Mrs. Sustainability Coordinator's budget,
Well, that's true. Maybe she'll have a
We are-
budget. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
What?
This person's
Put a
got
lot on them?
all of our hopes and dreams.
I know.
It's
Poor soul.
We'll have a budget, no doubt, yes. But it's just like,
They should be happy we're here because we're gonna be doing a lot of their
by
legwork.
March 10th, all problems will be solved. All,
True.
all programs will be up and running. No,
Getting there.
I do hope we'll get to find out and meet that person soon, and I hope that they will come to our next meeting.
That'd be great.
I'll have a
Yeah,
beer with them first.
all the above.
Not a bad idea.
Does anyone have anything else for today? Anything new, anything we've overlooked?
I guess the only thing that, I just want to reiterate, we do need to figure out how we're going to run ourselves when we decide we want to organize an event. We have to, just very specifically make an agreement among ourselves what we're doing. That's all.
I think the two things to think about for that, number one is all of us make a concerted effort to get a social media presence out there. And the other is for us to find out specifically how we go about making a smaller subcommittee so that we can communicate with each other without having to worry about breaking open meeting laws.
Unaffiliated with the town.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
just the subcommittee of this committee, because that's still part of this committee. I think you mean.
And that's
If
like-
we do an official subcommittee.
That's what Winterfest is. It is not a subcommittee. They have a separate group
Right. Yeah.
that they allocate to do stuff that would normally require, this is my understanding. I think they did So they could get stuff done efficiently without always having to have a formal
Yeah.
meeting. So
Yeah.
I guess I would like to double check that we really, that we really have to do exactly what the,
We
whether
should.
there's any wiggle room.
Anyone who
Together a
wants
list of
to-
specific questions to pass on.
Who do we
Yeah,
ask?
through you to the mayor, to the city council.
I don't know, you could maybe try the city clerk's
I
office.
think
maybe
Bob
what I
Barbara
would-
Lombard.
what I
is
would
still
start
there.
with, yeah. And if not, Mary Ann, who's her, who's the assistant, would have been around a while, would probably answer some questions. I would assume.
I don't think we need a lawyer for
I
it.
don't think we need to go to the solicitor about it. I think, yeah, the city
Yeah,
clerk's
it
office.
would cost money.
Well, no, I mean, the city pays to have somebody on the books to deal with this sort of things, but like, getting their time and attention for these types of questions is not gonna be easy. So I think starting with those who are experienced and.
I think the state does workshops on this stuff too. Maybe one of us can someday.
They do, I think we've all had to take one. at some
We all
point,
have to
right?
take
Live
one.
one though, I mean, where you
Yeah.
can you can go back and forth with the expert, the state's expert. I've seen those meetings
Yeah.
happen and, I might go do one of those just to.
Rattle
Get it
some
from- get-
cages.
Well, it just
rattle,
seems, it just
you know.
seems so insane because we have no power, I mean, as far as the city's concerned, we don't implement anything, anything we do that's implementing something is actually, it goes through the mayor, it goes through some other group or organization. So it just seems so crazy that we have to live by these rules when what we do is not typical of a committee that,
Well,
know what I mean?
Sure, but we've been, we've all been appointed by the city, so we are.
right, I
acting
understand that. I do
In
understand
that
that.
charge of
Yeah, I
that. So, even though we are advisory, I mean, there are decisions that are being made, there are things that are being discussed that deserve to be public. And so, yes, it applies, less to us than it would to some other larger deliberative bodies and things like that, but there's reasons for it and we should do our best to abide that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not
figure-
suggesting
No, I
that we
know.
try to get around the rules. I'm just,
Yeah, I mean, frustration is everywhere for everybody, but it's like, we just gotta do our best with it. And,
Sorry, I got too on that tangent, guys.
No.
one of the
just said-
ones we love to return to.
I just looked up Pasquamic because I was
Yeah.
wondering about their plant sale and they're doing an annual meeting March 3rd or 4th. You can see it in your email
We
now.
already put it on
I'm
the
going.
calendar. She was looking at that before.
Oh, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
we
I didn't
talked
know
about that.
Where was I?
I don't know.
Oh,
Sorry, I guess I was thinking about something else. Okay, so, but Lori Sanders is an excellent speaker, naturalist. She's the speaker at that thing. She was to Smith, she went to Smith College. She worked for DEP for years. I know her a little bit,
Okay.
but she's pretty well respected and interesting person to hear a lecture on whatever it is,
Nice.
local ecology and landscapes and shit.
All right. Well, before we revisit the entirety of the meeting, can we get a motion to adjourn?
wait,
We all done?
did we accept last month's minutes?
We did.
Yes, we did. Yeah,
Everyone's taking turns like nodding off here today.
Yeah, but I'm taking the minutes. That's kind of pathetic.
I did at the
Josh
very
made the motion.
Yeah,
Yep.
you did. Tommy made the
I
motion.
made the
Cassie
motion.
seconded. Cassie seconded. We all approved.
I tried to make the motion and
On the
second.
recording, you did, but you got talked over.
I make a motion to.
Are we really we are gonna just do the entire meeting a second time?
I think it's time
I
for us to
second
all go
your-
home.
I have a motion to
Conditional.
adjourn and a
So
second.
moved.
All in favor.
And thank you again for writing them.
Absolutely. Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Thanks,
Josh.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.